This is Jonathan Agger, Fifth Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Adam Smith, Sky Sports Head of Boxing Development here in London, ahead of one of the biggest all-female fights of all time, Clarissa against Savannah Marshall this Saturday. Adam, having said that, where do you rank this compared to Serrano against Taylor?
Oh, it's right up there. I think this is a huge fight in boxing, not just in women's boxing. We've waited 10 years for it. Clarissa Shields, unbeaten, as she reminded me, in 77 of 78 amateur bouts. Only one defeat. I thought it was 75. She sort of found 3 more from somewhere. But 78 amateur bouts, one defeat. The one defeat we all know about. I asked her just now if it's been like a wasp or a fly that's been just irritating her for a long time, and she said no, she dealt with it and she moved on, and now she wants to prove that she is the elite fighter in the world, and it's not Savannah Marshall. Savannah has been fabulous, a wonderful sort of rise, especially in the last couple of years under Peter Fury, a thunderous puncher, possibly the biggest female puncher of all time, and with the needle, the spice, the British-American angle, the different characters, the conflicting styles, and of course their meet first time around in China at the Worlds 10 years ago. It's got everything. So I think this is as much anticipated as any fight in recent times. Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano, don't get me wrong, absolute classic, an epic of a fight. And if this is half as good or 3/4 as good as that, we're in for a treat. That was a fabulous fight. But to have 2 in the same year, wow. And it just shows how far the females have come. It's a wonderful night for us, the first all-female card in the UK on Sky Sports, and I think many of us at Sky have worked long and hard at trying to push women's boxing over the years. Jane Couch did it many years ago. She was the pioneer. But I think it took the London Olympics, it took Katie and Savannah being on our scholarship program, and I think it took a bold move from Eddie Hearn and Barney Francis to make Katie Taylor the professional fighter on Sky in November 2016, and she has just inspired a whole generation. She's iconic, and we've seen the likes of Nicola, Tasha, obviously, but also Chantel and Terry and Rachel and Shannon and Ebony and Georgia, who's just here, and so many have come through, and now the young are coming on this card as well, and they've got idols to look up to. Michaela was telling me that she didn't have female idols to look up to. Now the young do have that. They have the Michaela Mayers, they have the Alicia Baumgardners, they have the Clarissa Shields, the Savannah Marshalls, the Amanda Serranos, the Katie Taylors. Now they have that, and it's wonderful. And to have this not on box office, free to air on Sky Sports, we're going to have the O2 banged out with a different crowd. 35% of the tickets being sold are women, which is brilliant, and we're going to have a fantastic night on Saturday. And I hope everybody tunes in and has some respect for the amazing women that we have. They're elite, we know that. The world doesn't know it enough yet, and they will on Saturday.
Both Clarissa and Savannah are unbeaten. What does this come down to on Saturday night, the difference between winning and losing?
Fine margins is what it comes down to. The way they both handle the fight. I think Savannah needs a really good start. Otherwise, she's going to rely on Peter Fury to sort of cajole her and move her through the sessions. I know her well. She's fought her mental demons. She's in a really good place. Her confidence is oozing, and she's through the roof after her recent performances. She believes she can knock out Clarissa Shields. She can believe she can do it to anyone. If she doesn't have a good start, that will be an interesting part of the fight. So I think she needs a good start. I think Clarissa will be looking to get into a rhythm anyway. It's all about footwork, mobility, class, skills for her. Clarissa believes she's a level above Savannah. Savannah believes she'll knock her out. She's got land to knock her out, but if she lands, Clarissa could be in big trouble. So I think it's got everything, and I think it's a pick-em, and I think it will come down to very fine margins on the night. Remember, it's only 20 minutes of actual boxing. 10 twos. These women want 10 threes or 12 threes. They made it very clear to me, a lot of them, and hopefully we're closing in on that. But for the moment, it's 10 twos. All the treasure, all the marbles on the line. How's the pressure going to affect the two of them? They'll never have fought in front of 20,000 people, a stage like that, the worldwide audience. I don't know. It depends on Clarissa's mindset, on Savannah's mindset, on what they remember, and will they be taken back at any point to that previous fight? I'm not sure they will. I think it's a very different picture 10 years later. But anything can happen in there, and that's what's so exciting.
And Alicia, Baumgarten, Michaela as well on this bill. What was the thought process behind having them as the co-main event? Was it just another one of the biggest fights in female boxing?
We wanted to make it the biggest standout night of the year of recent times, certainly for the women. Michaela, of course, is with our colleagues and friends at Top Rank. She's been over, she's commentated with me before. I worked with her on the Tyson Fury Dillian White night. She's fabulous for boxing. So too Alicia Baumgarten, who is brilliant. She's a great role model in her own right. Fantastic upset of Terry Harper, or not an upset in her eyes. And she brings in a lot of smoke, a world title belt, and Michaela wants to unify and go for undisputed after this one. So it's another fight for so many titles, so many belts, another 50-50, and I'm really pleased that Top Rank and Matchroom have come together, and everybody's working together for the good of this night, for the good of boxing and the good of women's sport.
One thing I have to ask, obviously going back to last Saturday, I'm sure you've been asked about some of the criticism of the card in Liverpool. Why do you think, do you think it's justified? Do you think it was a little unfair? Or, what's your overall assessment of some of the backlash?
We get criticised every week for lots of different things, and there's things that you want to speak up about, and there's things that you think, look, you're just going to get... You're going to get shouted at and shot at for being something that people don't want you to be, or whatever. Look, I'm very proud of what we do at Sky. We've done boxing year in, year out for over 30 years, and we all work very hard at our job. We're very, very passionate. We love the sport, and we love our fighters. I believe in Ben Shalom. I've got a promotional partner in the UK who is similar. He's very passionate. He loves boxers, and he wants to do the best he can. And I think both of us were very deflated after Saturday night, and that's the honest truth. There were some good moments to Saturday, and let's highlight them. Tasha Jonas and Patricia Burkholt were in a great fight, fantastic fight. I thought Patricia was unlucky on the cards, actually, not to get more. I thought she played a bigger role than what the cards said, what the two judges said, but Tasha rightfully won the fight. She was fantastic, and a terrific story, becoming a double unified champion, and great for us. Obviously, she's part of our team, and she will join us on broadcast on Saturday night from the safe side of the ropes. I'm sort of pleased for Tasha, but annoyed that she's not going to, be more permanent on our side of the ropes. But it's brilliant, isn't it, that she's done that? And hats off to a terrific effort from Patricia Burkholt, who was unbeaten going in. So that was a great fight. Dan Aziz, who I've just seen on the boat, in another really good fight with Shakan Pitters. Again, I thought Shakan was a little bit hard done by the scores, but it was a really good fight, and the right man won. And Adam Azim goes on to bigger and better things after a terrific win against a guy who'd never been stopped. Now we get to the bad stuff. Okay, well, should he have fought someone who was better? Possibly. He will next time, Adam. We need to move him up and step him up. Should Fraser Clark have fought the unbeaten Bulgarian on paper? 7-0, 5 knockouts. Why not? In reality, absolutely not. It was totally unsatisfactory. It was a terrible sort of few minutes, and no one got anything out of it. Not the opponent that came in, not Fraser Clark, not the fans, not the customers, and it was a very, very unsatisfactory peak time for Sky Sports at that time. Fraser was devastated, and I think he said the right things afterwards. I don't think I need to repeat all of that again. Liam Smith's opponent, he came in late. Ultimately, he wasn't good enough. He fought for 4 rounds and looked like he was in the fight, and then suddenly, the distress signals, the ankle, whatever it was. Again, unsavoury, unsatisfactory. I walked out the arena with Liam. Both of our fighters were annoyed and upset, and I think that's down to Sky and Boxer. That's down to us. You can look at the management teams, the trainers, the matchmakers, all the rest of it. Ultimately, Boxer put on the show and Sky broadcast it. And I said to Ben, we've got to stand up, and we're both upset. We've got to tell people we're upset. Nothing to harm in that. We made mistakes. There's a lot of internal investigation, but fundamentally we got to take the flak, and I accept that. And being honest, it wasn't good enough. So I've got a responsibility to put pressure on Ben to make sure that that doesn't happen again, to make sure that Liam Smith gets his big fight next time out, to make sure Fraser Clark fights a much tougher test next time, and everyone gets value for money, and no one won with that. So it was a mixed bag. There were some really good moments at Liverpool, wonderful atmosphere, fantastic performance by Adam Azim, Dan Aziz and Tasha Jonas. Liam Smith gets the win, Fraser Clark gets the win. If you look at it like that, we move on. We've got a rip-roaring show over there at the O2 on Saturday night, and we all move on, and it's yesterday's fish and chip paper. But Ben and I are not like that. We take these things to heart. We love boxing and we love boxers, and it wasn't good enough. And there's been a great deal that Ben and I have done, I think, right over the last year, and we brought boxing back, and there've been some fantastic nights, and we're right to say those were the great nights on Sky. But when things don't work out, we've got to be good enough to get in front of camera and talk about it and have an assessment. And we won't go into the who's and whys. That's for behind the scenes, and that's for us to look at. But fundamentally, Ben is the promoter and the CEO of Boxer. I'm the head of boxing development at Sky, and our customers and our fans deserve better, and they will get better, and it won't happen again.
Moving on, we've got Eubank against Ben coming up in a couple of weeks' time. If that was a fight that came up on Sky, do you believe it would have been a pay-per-view on Sky?
I would have liked that fight in about a year and a half. I told a great deal of people around the time that obviously Chris Eubank was with us for the year. I'd like that fight to have been maybe next summer. We could have had 2 or 3 fights to build it up a bit more. Would I have liked to have it on Sky? Of course. I mean, Conor Benn and Chris Eubank is a fantasy fight. I mean, some people will say it's not really fair with the weights and that Chris starts a big favourite. You try telling that to Conor and Nigel and the team. They want to upset the apple cart. They always knew it would happen at some point. I think it's a fight that's going to appeal to the casuals. It's a fight that I want to see, and it's on DAZN. It's a big night for them. Again, let's not play around. It's a big night for DAZN. I'm in the Sky business. Would I've liked it on Sky at some point? Of course I would have done, but it's not. So that's not an issue. Will we get Chris back if he wins against Liam Smith? That's a big fight. That's a great fight. Love to do that fight. Love to do it at Anfield. Love to do that fight. But at the moment they've got business to take care of, Chris and Conor. We've worked with both of them. We admire them both greatly, and we wish the best of luck to both men. I'd love to sneak in, maybe sit on Eddie's lap for that one. But look, it's business, isn't it? And they've got a good one. Ben and I have got to concentrate on what we're doing. We've got fantastic fighters coming through. Wonderful to see Lauren and Clarissa and Caroline on display on Saturday night. We've got the best Olympians with Ben Whittaker and Fraser. We've got Adam Azim. We've got huge nights coming on Sky in the autumn and winter. A lot of decisions to be made in the coming days and weeks, and we're going to have a fantastic lineup till the end of the year. But it's great seeing big fights and nights on other channels. Let's not kid ourselves. BT are having a great run. Look at Ben working with George and Frank and getting Joe Parker to fight Joe Joyce on BT. That can only be good for the game. That can only be good for the sport. I'd love to see Fury and Joshua fight, and even if it's not on Sky and that fight is on Britain and it's on DAZN or it's on BT, great. It's great for the fans, and I think that's great that more promoters are working together. Well done to Top Rank, to Matchroom coming into the boxer climate for this, working together. And if Eddie and Frank and Bob and everyone's here at ringside on Saturday, happy days. That's what we should have. Politics, at the end of the day, the fans want to see great fights, and of course there's agendas, and of course there's ways of there's business, there's ways of developing your fighters. Maybe the AJ team will think it's not right to take on Tyson Fury just yet. The fans want to see it. Tyson Fury's offered him. I'd love to see it. Let's see. Wouldn't it be a great end to the year? I'm a boxing fan, Jonathan, first and foremost. I love fighters, and I want to see great fights. We can't have that all the time. We have got a business to build, and we are building back. And I keep saying to Ben, we've had a great first year. Look at what we've done. Khan Brook. We've had Usyk AJ in Saudi on box office. We've had Catchall Taylor. We've had Eubank and Williams breaking records on Sky Sports. We've got the business behind us. We've got the biggest female night of all time coming on Saturday. It's great. Don't worry. Mistakes made. You've got to learn. Everyone's got to learn. He's come a long way in a short time, Ben. He's brilliant. And he's had to battle through being on the tournament stage and all that. And now he's on a bigger stage. So he's going to get things thrown at him. And he'll take that. He'll take it to heart. and he'll work on how to improve everything. Ben Shalom is going to be a great promoter going forwards. He's fresh, he's new, and it's tough out there. Ask Eddie, ask Frank. It's tough. Everyone wants to be your friend, and then everyone wants to be your enemy. It's tough. I think Ben's doing an amazing job, and I'll support him every bit of the way.
Eddie Hearn told me, just staying with Ben Eubank for a second, Eddie Hearn told me that he'd like it to hit 1 million buys on DAZN pay-per-view.
Wow.
Do you think that's a realistic target?
I don't know, I'm not in the DAZN business. Maybe I'll get off this and I'll talk to Joe Markowski and see what he thinks. That's a big number. That's a massive number. I mean, look, DAZN are doing great things. They've got an incredible boxing sort of lineup, and they've got the hardcore boxing fans. They don't have football, they don't have the platform that Sky have or the platform that BT have. So that's a big call, but it's a big fight, and it's a fight that casuals will want to try and watch. So it'd be really interesting to, if we ever get the truth, we ever find out how many it really did get. But I'll tell you what, if anyone give me a seat on the night, or Calla, which I hope they do, but they don't give me a seat on the night, then I'll be, well, I've got a DAZN sub, so I don't need to pay any more. Well, do I? I think I do have to pay a bit more, but whatever, I'll pay whatever. I'm watching that fight. I wouldn't miss it for Conor and Chris and the story. But yeah, it's, listen, I'm sure they'll do very good business out of it. It's a really good fight, but it's a question maybe more for Joe than me.
Final one, and it is very windy, so apologies to the viewers, but in the last 48 hours, Joshua Fury, seems like Fury's offered Joshua a 60-40 split for the purse, and the fight maybe could happen. But I mean, if you're a cynic looking at this, 2 years ago they tried to make the fight and it didn't happen. When it comes down to this broadcast situation, Joshua with DAZN, Fury with BT, how difficult, from your experience, is it to make a fight of that magnitude with two broadcasters?
Well, if it goes to Saudi, maybe we will be in with the shout again. Ultimately, yeah, look, it's a fight that is difficult. It's always going to be difficult to make. Was last time when we had AJ on Sky. Now he's with DAZN. You've got the BT Frank Bob on ESPN, and yeah, it's huge amounts of red tape to get through from a broadcast point of view. Beyond that, there's a huge amount of red tape to get through on the financial point of view. On the fact that, is it an interesting situation now that Tyson has actually called out AJ relatively sensibly, and AJ has responded sensibly, and actually I'm hearing Eddie was around this morning, Frank and George and Francis, and there's some talk maybe brewing, or maybe behind closed doors, and Bob's over this week.
Well, they met up?
I don't know. I'm hearing things, and I'm hearing that they're going to. I've always said, and I know Anthony and I know Tyson, I've always said if they get in a room, they'll make the fight. They both want the fight. Whether it's right for Anthony at this moment with what happened coming off 2 defeats, but stars make fights, and he did much better against Usyk, and he fought really well in Saudi. Will they want to bring him back with a slightly easier route? Possibly. Is that the right thing to do? Maybe. That's one for Freddie and KD and the training team, obviously, the ones that are closest to Anthony. But I think it's an opportunity too. For fight fans, wouldn't it be a brilliant end to what's been a great year, where we've seen a number of big matches? Clarissa Shields, Savannah Marshall, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano, Alicia, Baumgartner, and Michaela all in the female world, and the males world. We've seen Fury sell out Wembley, break records against Dillian. We've seen Usyk and AJ out there. We're going to see Eubank and Ben, who people think probably would never have happened. And now, at the end of the year before Christmas, could we have it in Cardiff to see Joshua and Fury? I mean, they'd have to take a big financial cut. You know, they're not getting the money that they'd have in the Middle East. But you know what? Maybe both have earned shed loads of money already. Maybe it's a fight that will happen, and the British public are going to get what they want. I don't know. There's the cynical side of me and the business side of me saying that it's a long, long way away. But there's a hope in me, and there's a glass half full side of me that said these two want this to happen. And actually, things happen surprisingly in boxing, and maybe this is the right time to do it. AJ's got less pressure on his shoulders. He'll be going in an underdog with nothing to lose, really. And stars make fights. There's still many people who fancy Joshua in that fight. Yes, he'll be a big underdog. Yes, Fury will start favourite. But wouldn't every single person on this boat, every single person around this city, every single person around the world really want to see that fight? You bet. So come on, guys, make it happen. Try at least.
On that note, Adam Smith will leave it there. Appreciate it.